Welcome back to another Music Drives Us, a very special Music Drives Us today. I'm J-Bo, as we look forward to our Ultimate Shredder event on February 26th in Boston. Who better to help us find the Ultimate Shredder than the iconic guitarist formerly of Boston, Barry Goudreau. Barry, welcome to Music Drives
Hey,
Us.
great to be here.
What an honor. First, we're thrilled to have you as one of our esteemed judges for the Ultimate Shredder contest in Boston on February 26th. When you have a special moment with Barry Goudreau from Boston, your mind automatically goes to our old friends, More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Long Time, Don't Look Back, Smokin'. You know, I had this same chat with Lou Gramm last month of Foreigner. I'm on 4 classic hit stations every day. ROR in Boston, WLS Chicago, and of course, 70s on 7 on Sirius XM. And Barry, we play a Boston song every single day on all those stations.
Well, I certainly appreciate that.
What is it like to be part of these songs are like our friends. When you're in the car alone, you're having a bad day, and More Than a Feeling comes on, it's like, hey, buddy, we got this. It's a comfortable friend. How do you
Well,
explain the longevity of these unbelievable songs?
it's hard to believe that it's been 50 years now. I actually remember the first time I heard More Than a Feeling on the radio. I was in my car. I remember what stoplight I was at, and the song came on, the ZLX at the time. And I was just thrilled to death, and I was looking around at the other cars like, hey, that's me on the radio.
You want to tell everybody.
Yeah, obviously the songs have stood the test of time. I mean, 50 years, who would have thought? We were just hoping to get signed and maybe do well enough that we'd be able to do a second record and maybe have a career in music. And, here I am 50 years later and had a very good life, very good career.
Yeah. Well deserved. Those songs, not only did they sell millions of records in radio today, and these big brands that play music, satellite and terrestrial, they spend a lot of money each year in audience research, and your songs still end up, they do these, what they call music tests. And they have to find this group of music that appeals to the biggest, group of audience, your target audience. More Than a Feeling always comes back in the top 10, top 20 after all these years. The research, the audience is not tired of it. And
I get inquiries from fans, and oftentimes it's my parents listened to Boston, and I grew up with it, and now I'm a fan. So obviously it's being passed down. I think we're probably to the grandchildren level at this point.
I would agree with that. When Tom Schultz and you and Bradley, may he rest in peace, when these songs came together, was there a strategy to think, well, we want these to last forever? Or did you just do them and they ended up, years later still play? Was there a strategy behind it?
No, not really. Tom and I did the first demo I was involved with in 1969. And it wasn't until 1975 that we actually, got signed to a record deal. We were just trying to find whatever it was that would be the hook that could, get us in the business and move us ahead. So we weren't thinking of longevity. We were just thinking of, right now.
Right. Well, it worked. Well, I mean, in the 70s, Boston, you guys, looking back now, you were kind of a super group. There's you on the guitar. There's Tom Schultz, MIT graduate. You were a BU kid. Bradley Delp really was the first Steve Perry before Steve Perry. And of course, Seb, may he rest in peace on the drums. You guys were a super group. You're kind of Jimmy Page of New England. How, for the kids listening and watching that want to be part of a band, how do you deal with the dichotomy of these gigantic personalities with enormous talent, yours truly, yours yourself, and how do you work it out and end up with your fingerprints on the song without stepping on toes? How do you deal with the egos? I guess that's a more direct question.
Oh, well, early on, there wasn't really any kind of issue with that at all. I think the egos come in with the success. We didn't have any of those kind of issues until we were a couple of records in. So I don't know if I'm the best one to address that.
Well, you never come off as like you're a big shot or an ego. You always come off as the most humble, uh, you know, rock icon
Well,
I've ever met.
I would like to think that, yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, all right, so you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, did the success change you or the band? And can you share how in that sort of in working together?
Well, I've seen other people say that success hasn't changed me, but it changed everybody around me. And I think early on that was kind of the case. A lot of the people that I knew growing up, and friends and other musicians just had a different view of me after we had the success that we had. I got to admit, we had so much success. We were, playing stadiums, and we played the Superdome. And, the first time I was in the Boston Garden was when I walked in for us to headline a show there. So, it's pretty heady stuff. And, I've got to admit, I got into that at some point, but I got over it.
Was it hard to, when you found the success, were there some nights where you wished it didn't happen? You wish you could go back to the old times where things were simpler? Or did you just kind of cut your way through and make it happen?
Well, actually, I've got a memory of that. We when we went on our second tour, um, obviously Tom felt as though the second record wasn't really ready. He wasn't really ready to go on tour, and we were rehearsing to go out on tour. And for the first date we did, we hadn't actually played the whole set yet. So we were in a sold out arena going on stage without even having gone through the whole set.
Wow.
And I remember thinking at that point, what am I doing? How did I get here? But, we got through that show and, a few more shows and it got to be more comfortable. But, you have those thoughts. Am I worthy?
Yeah, yeah. Am I worthy? Things are moving so fast, you didn't get to rehearse the full show. Things are moving, okay, fine. And then you get up there, you realize, oh my God, what have I done? But maybe getting through it built a little more confidence and a little more cockiness too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned that the first demo was in 1969 and Epic didn't sign you until 75. In those first early years, did you want to give up?
No, no, not really. I believe that I'd still be doing it now, even if we never get signed, because I didn't pick up playing guitar to become a rock star or become wealthy. I did it because I enjoy doing it. I think that's really what you have to do. If you have illusions of grandeur, you're going to be disappointed. I don't know. I think if we hadn't had the success, I'd still be a guitar player. I'd probably have some other career to to survive, but I'd still be a guitar player.
That's the quote. That's the quote of the decade. I didn't do this to become a rock star. I did it because I loved it. And when you do something with passion and love, that gets you through the ups and downs, right? That gets you through the down times.
Yeah, and the fact that we've had so much rejection early on that gives you a lot of drive to well, I'll show them. They didn't like this one. Well, how about this? And that was a lot of the drive. The funny thing is, we got rejected by Epic Records, and the executive there that turned us down actually had the rejection letter framed and had it on the wall of his office. Like, look, we all make mistakes.
Right, right, right. I always say sometimes you can't trust the experts.
Well, true. And the thing is, after Boston became successful, they were all looking for the next Boston. So that's how they overlooked us because it was different than what was going on. And they're always looking for what's happening now. How can we cash in on what's happening now? So Boston became successful. Everybody's looking for the next Boston. I think it's kind of a cyclical thing.
Was it true that you saw Bradley Delp early on and you kind of brought him to Tom? Did I get that right?
Yeah, actually, I auditioned for a band in high school, the band that Brad was in, and the guitar player decided that he wanted to leave the band. So he said, "Well, I'm going to bring you to the rehearsal and tell the band that I'm leaving, and you'd be a good replacement for me." So I went to the rehearsal, and we did "Communication Breakdown" by Led Zeppelin, which was a new song at the time. Brad just sang the shit out of it. I like, holy crap, I couldn't believe it. And then the band members said to the guitar player, "Well, we don't really want you to leave." So I didn't get the gig, but I did remember, you know, having heard Brad, and later on when we were in the demo stage, I contacted Brad and brought him into the fold. And the first time we actually played together was a place on Revere Beach. A friend of mine had a Sunday jam session, and Tom, Brad, and I went to the jam session and we played the Allman Brothers. I can't remember the Allman Brothers song, but Tom played the Hammond organ, I played guitar, and Brad sang. And that was actually the first time that the three of us had played together.
Wow. How old were you and Brad that first time, that first early band when you were trying to get the gig? How old
Oh,
were you?
I was, 15, 16. I was 16. I was driving, so I was 16.
16. How old was Brad?
The same age. We were the same
Oh
age.
my God. So he sounded almost close to the More Than a Feeling,
Absolutely.
at 15?
Oh, yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
my
Like
God.
I said, we did the communication breakdown, and I never heard anybody sing like that, except for the record, of course. But
Right. So he sounded like he reminded you of Robert Plant. Am I
yeah, and
right?
he was already a huge Beatles fan. I mean, I don't know. You probably realize Brad had a cover band, tribute band, whatever you want to call it, Beetlejuice, and he knew every Beatles song, every harmony part, every guitar part. So he already had the skills even back then.
Blown away by that at 16 he sounds like the way we know him today. Unbelievable. And you too. Who were
I
your
don't know if I sounded the way I did.
Well, we'll have to get out that tape.
I'm not going to give myself that much credit.
See, I told you were humble.
I got better.
Who are your mentors growing up? Who were the guitar legends that you admired?
Well, I was a huge Jeff Beck fan. I started playing guitar way back in the early 60s. I started when I was 11 years old, which would have been 1962. And at that time, it was the Ventures playing the instrumental surf kind of music, and of course the Beach Boys. So after I had been playing for a while, my parents bought me a white Fender Stratocaster, and I was just in heaven because I had the same guitar that the Ventures were and the Beach Boys were playing, a white Fender Stratocaster. I had arrived at that point.
You can emulate them in your heart, in your mind.
Yeah, and then later on, when the FM radio started getting going, WBCN, of course, they brought all the bands to town through the Boston Tea Party. I went there many, many times. I saw Led Zeppelin the first time they were in the country. I saw Jeff Beck the first time, but Allman Brothers with Dwayne, and you name it. So, yeah, Jeff Beck was a big influence, and then, Jimmy Page to
Right.
a certain degree.
Do you have a favorite guitar that you play then and now? Is it the same one?
Yeah, I've been playing an SG now since 1969. I went to see Cream play in Boston in 1968. Eric Clapton was playing a red SG through Marshall Stacks, and I left there thinking, okay, I gotta have that. I gotta have that guitar. I gotta have those amplifiers. And I bought the first SG, which I fortunately still have. And it took me another year or so to get my first Marshall amp, but that really cemented direction for me.
When you think of a long time, Tom wrote those songs, but did you take his notes and melody and make it your own? Did you add when you said, "Wait, I'm going to try this," like on songs like that, or "Don't Look Back," or "Peace of Mind"?
Well, the parts I played, it was open for me to do what I wanted to. Long time, for instance. Tom said, "I'm gonna have you play the guitar on this one. I'm gonna have you come in this weekend." So I'd, work out the parts, and he'd say, well, I'm not ready yet. We'll do it next week." And then, I'd go over the parts some more, and then, well, I'm not ready this weekend. So it kept pushing off and off and off. So by the time I went in, I had a pretty good idea of what I was gonna do. I was also really excited that I was gonna finally be able to record through that Marshall amp that I bought, because Tom had taken control of it and was using it on all the Boston demos. And when I went into the studio, he had me set up through a little Fender Champ amp. I was like,
Yeah, I mean, those Long Time was such an amazing classic album rock hit, and then Top 40 played the short version. But today, stations, now the audience is savvy, and look, you don't edit it. You got to play. If you're gonna play a long time, you got to play the
"Oh."
whole thing
Yeah,
now. And
obviously I still play that, and it's and I'm in with my own band. It's the highlight of the show, and I'm also in an all-star band, and we do some Boston material, and that's always one of the best received songs.
yeah, oh yeah, well they must go nuts when Ernie's band, Ernie and the Automatics, with you and Brian and Seb, may he rest in peace. When you guys came, we were talking about this before we started. You came to WODS and played live for us on the oldie station in Boston, and you brought in all the equipment, and we introduced you, and you went right into the riff of Peace of Mind, and it was like heaven hearing that song live, but in an intimate setting. It wasn't in a stadium,
Well,
but
it works no matter where you are.
it really does. This is a wild question. Do you have a favorite Boston song you enjoy playing the most? I asked the same question to Lou Graham. Of these, your babies, you play them on guitar. Do you have a favorite, or are they all just very close?
Well, I've gotta say it's a long time. That's a song that we used to close the Boston sets with, and that's where I close my sets with my own band. So, yeah, that's definitely it. And I think, More Than a Feeling, Long Time, between the two of those, I think they're probably the most popular Boston
Yeah,
song.
they're our best friends. I told you, they're our best in the car when we need them most. Wow. Yeah, yeah. Well, you deserve it. Well, this is exciting. You're one of our esteemed judges at our Music Drives Us Ultimate Shredder event in Boston on February 26th, and it's going to be a wonderful night of great guitarists, whether they're future rock stars or, like Barry said, you just want to play for fun, play for the love of it, which it really matters. What advice can you give these folks that are watching that want to sign up, Barry? What should you tell them?
I think a lot of people think the faster you play and the more notes you play, the better it's gonna be. But I think you have to get a certain amount of feeling and emotion and some melody there too. I think for me, that's really the important thing. I mean, there's a lot of guys that can play a million miles an hour. It doesn't really mean a lot. I mean, for me, it's the feel, melody. That's what I'm gonna be looking for.
What do you
Not
tell?
necessarily playing more notes than everybody else, because 'cause you're not getting paid by the note.
Right, 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 right. What do you tell the folks that are signing up about how do you cope with the nervousness of it if you're anxious about it? When you go on stage, do you still a little anxious, or are those days long gone?
To be honest, I never had those issues. I played a whole lot through my teenage years. When I was 15 years old, I was playing in a band out in the Combat Zone in Boston, doing 7 sets a night, 7 nights a week. So, it gets to a point where it's just what you do. There are times when you walk in front of the Superdome and then it's 88,000 people that you get a little apprehensive, but once you're into it, it's you
Uh,
know
If you can make it through the combat zone in Boston in the 70s, 60s,
yeah, without getting killed. Yeah,
then that should
I was
solve any
more
fear
worried
problem.
about that than the music.
So what advice about the folks that are going to sign up? What if they have a little bit of nerves? What do you tell them?
Honestly,
Screw it. Don't be scared.
yeah, just go and do what you do. You know, if you love it and you know you're confident that you've got it, just go up there and do it. You know, it's funny because I have some friends who are lifelong musicians who have played thousands of shows and they still get nervous going on. Honestly, I don't really have that issue.
Yeah, yeah, I love
Maybe I'm
that.
too dumb. I don't know.
I love that. Are there any we put you on the spot, are there any artists today, modern artists, guitarists that identify with or like or that know of that you
Well,
think you could?
I'm friends with Nuno Bettencourt, and Nuno, I think at this point is the new Eddie Van Halen. He he's absolutely awesome, and he's been everywhere. I don't know if you saw he's in the Kennedy Center Honors, and he was on the Latin Music Awards.
Yeah.
Super player. I mean, he's got chops up the wing wag. He's really got it, and he's a really great guy, and he's not saying, "Hey, I'm better than you. I'm better than anybody." He's got a really great attitude, and no, I actually played with him last year, and he took it easy on me.
Well, look, this has been a treat for me getting to see you again and getting to talk to you in depth and ask you about these incredible songs that are still with us every single day in our lives. And it's going to be wonderful to have you as one of the judges at our Music Drives Us Ultimate Shredder event. It's February 26th. Hey, Barry,
Excellent.
what's going on with you in the future other than our Shredder event? Anything else coming up we can come see you?
Well, yeah, I've got my own band, Barry Goudreau's Engine Room. We have a website. You can go to the website to see what shows we have coming up. You got some things coming up in the spring. Also, I'm in another supergroup band, the American Vinyl All Stars, and we do a show from time to time. We actually just played in Las Vegas last weekend with Skunk Baxter is the other guitar player in the band, and talk about shredders. He is really something else. What a guy! Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff Skunk Baxter. How cool is that? Well, Barry, like I said, it's been an honor. Thank you for coming on our Music Drives Us podcast. We'll see you at the Shredder event, February 26th in Boston, and we'll see you soon. Again, maybe we'll get you back in here for a 6 months checkup with us, okay?
Well, as Ernie would say, come on down.
Yes. Yeah, we got to get to that. We got to get people to that Shredder event. It'd be fun to see you guys there and hear how you kind of put on your American Idol judge chops a little bit, you know? Barry,
I'll
thank
try
you,
not to
man.
be Simon Cowell.
Yeah. We'll work on our British accent.
Yeah.
Barry, thanks again, man.
All right, you got it. Thank you.